Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the artistic portion of our mini create-a-thon workshops. The what do we do about the visual art? I am the artist for my team. How do I build the artwork that we have within the next 2 days? And to help us with that is our lovely head of community, Tim. Tim, take it away.
Hello, friends. So give me one moment. I would love to share my screen for you. Perfect. So, long story short, we here at Story City are always excited about supporting and helping creators take their work to and transpose it into new mediums, because there's less and less money in every single artist's creation, and more monies that go toward larger, more impactful collaborative projects. So while we all have our specialties and traditional paths, if you want to make a career in the arts, you need to be diversifying your craft into areas of art that are making money. For example, games and interactivity, like here at Story City. So we want to help you expand your skill set into other fields, and that way, if defunding drought comes into one area of your craft, you'll be able to use some of these other projects to prop yourself up. The easiest way to do that without having to learn a whole new field of skills is through collaborating like this weekend, creating unique things with others that we wouldn't normally be able to create on our own with our own skill sets. So leveraging the skill of a network rather than trying to prop ourselves up as an individual. At Story City, supporting artists to diversify their craft via the skills and our networking is part of our mandate. And so only 30 to 40% of this group will go on to do Story City stuff. So only a fraction of what we are doing right now and talking to you right now is about working with Story City. The rest of it's going to be focused on what you're building this weekend and how to utilize interactivity with your art space. So without further ado, I would, oop, we're going to jump right into art and interactive projects. So, oop, so the input, so art and interactive project development, right? So the input of art and performance can either come from the script stage, similar to like comic books or children's books, or you can come at it in development stage, such as like in plays. So by providing input earlier, you get more of your visual bang for your buck. So as you guys are collaborating this weekend, making sure that you are a part of that character creation, story creation process, and have art help lead the process rather than follow it. So if you come in at the development of the story being in as the story is being set down, there are various things you can do. You can have a say in the early stages of that storyline development and character development. And so as a writer is pulling together a basic outline of the story and brings that artist into the process, I would highly encourage you to sit at that table, because you can not only help the author visually describe what the character looks like, or the characters or the spaces that you're interacting with. I highly recommend looking at our interactivity and location workshops and talking about how we use locations as characters as well. But you can help provide the visual aspect for that medium to be both a visual and a written medium. You can help interact and create a more holistic character. Hashing out a synopsis of the character traits, etc., that having a back and forth on what might be more robust in a final script, because you participated in that visual engagement portion. And so as artists, there are stereotypes that you put into your work that can help a writer more vividly realize the story. Like evil people have pointy noses, are skinnier and have hunched, whereas heroes kind of stand straight and smile more. Similarly, like in theater, you may want to tailor the script to the specific actors and traits that you have at your disposal. So coming in at the development and planning stage also allows you as artists to demonstrate repeating elements and characters throughout the story process, allowing those to start concepts and blocking sooner, i.e. in a time machine story that you can see an image at the right, the artist trailed different versions of the professor through the time machine. So looking at this photo here in front of us, that you can take your same character and put them in different environments and allow for the cohesion of that story, the written story, to match the cohesion of that visual story. So Lastly, I would just say building themes and colors into your artwork. It's the same as building soundscapes into the artwork or into the story creation process, where you want consistency and you want the colors to, if it's a bright and positive colors, and then the mood changes and it becomes dark and dreary, that is going to be a part of that storytelling, that transmedia perspective that we have been talking about in some of our other workshops that you as the artist get to bring into the conversation. So you should be at the table as you build that. So before I go any further, Emily, do you have any questions?
So I do. So these are very detailed drawings here.
Hmm.
Uh, do they have to be as detailed across these 2 days?
Great question. No, they don't. And actually, this gives me an opportunity to bring up a fun little sample. Um, the artists in are at our Calgary event a couple weeks ago just drew and did some hand-drawn and painted um, little aliens that they took and then they transposed. They took this little alien and which really works with my whole space vibe over here. But took the little alien and they transposed by scanning it onto the computer and then putting it on images and the locations of what those aliens were actually interacting with. So via public art, via attacking a tall building, that kind of thing. But no, it does not have to be this detailed. You really only have 24 hours to build and create and draw and provide the details for every step along the story. And so I would encourage you to utilize your skill sets um, to best communicate the mood and the augmentation of the story that you are writing as a team, if that helps.
Yeah, that does. Like so this is kind of like at development stage. So um I don't need to wait for the script to be completed.
No, no, it's a great question. So we're talking about like character development, right? Like, evil characters kind of having that bent nose, that crooked hunch. In this case, with this last weekend, the aliens, the team decided that they were going to be working with these insectoid aliens, and so the artist got to start drawing out what that looked like as the authors and the voiceovers people and the musicians all worked on their own aspects of building out that story. So she decided that this is what the aliens were going to look like, and the team agreed that she had the creative rights to kind of build that character out a little bit more alongside um, the story being written out about what the bugs were doing, right? She got to design the bugs, and then they got to help decide what the bugs are doing. And that's why coming together as a team, we can really build these stories quickly if as long as you guys are working together and sharing responsibility around character creation, etc. Fantastic. Yeah. Any other questions, Em? Nope. Alrighty. So I'm going to go ahead and then jump into art and interactivity. So really interpreting script. So, or you may come, if you come in as the artist at the end when the script has been finalized, that's also okay. So how you start breaking down the workload and what that looks like is a little bit more dynamic. I apologize. Here is, kind of a suggested workflow. So read the story from start to end, figure out which characters are involved, what's happening. Then break each section down to the potential scenes that need to be drawn. The best scenes to draw are, your more action moments. So in the alien invasion story, the spaceships coming in and dropping honey on buildings. That's the moment you want to draw, not spaceships just floating through empty space. Um, Also take note of like the fantasy moments. And what is it that people need help visualizing that they already don't get in the location? So you can go and just take a photo of a wall, but that doesn't really do much for the interactivity of the space because people are already standing in that spot looking at that wall, right? So what are you going to do that's going to enhance the space? Is in this case, these little aliens were they use the little photos and images to look out of their ports at the wall and embody what was happening in that story. So I would definitely encourage you to allow the art to enhance the storyline where needed. And this is, again, you can do this at the beginning and alongside, and it that way your time is utilized properly because we only do have that 24-hour period truly to pump everything through. But you can come in at the end and help really close out those different scenes as well. So if they're in location, you don't have to render every detail of that art, or of that scene rather, right? So that's where utilizing the photo of the wall, utilizing the alien transposed on it is a really great way to capture both of those, the real and the fantasy or the sci-fi that is embodied over that. I would say sketches first are important. And so when you look at the images on the screen, the bottom three images on the left turned out to this perspective. The perspective and the one on the left was wrong, and the sketch had to be redone. And so when you're looking at these photos, really the when you're in location, you can see this little pergola here. You can draw the pergola, but the story of being in and underneath the pergola as an example, you want to make sure that you're doing like low fidelity little sketches first for your team to approve before you move all the way down to the end of that art design. And so starting at the top, you're like, okay, we said she was in the pergola, but that doesn't give us the same perspective as having her outside, which really matches the story better.
Okay, great. So it allows me to depend on like my strengths. So if I'm really great at characters, I might like go in at that development stage and like do a bunch of characterization. If I prefer to have something kind of more concrete that I can then build like pieces off, I can then kind of do it once a script is in place and can kind of build stuff out that way.
Mhm.
If I'm kind of that person who like I need to have a script in place before I can do like illustrations, like what do I do in the meantime while we're waiting for that script to be?
Great question. If you do, what do you do in the meantime? If you don't want to be a part of that like story creation, which I highly recommend you do, even if you're not physically drawing at that time, to help, you know, again, what help the author understand what your abilities are, and then so they can work in the storytelling aspects of what you can contribute. What I will say is that, like in the city of Edmonton, we are also working on a side project with the quarters, and they have decided that they're looking to do a potential light projection show for summer, or come in and do street art. And so if the city that you're in is doing a create-a-thon and has a component where there are side challenges that you can participate in, and let's just say you've always just painted with watercolors, but you've dreamed of maybe one day doing street art in your city. This is your opportunity to submit something with over the course of the weekend to the city for a potential winning of that commission. So with that, we will provide you with watermarks that will protect your artwork, and for that submission, so that the city does not receive that art without properly paying you, and we'll help facilitate and make that equitable for everybody involved. But we'll give you watermarks. You'll be able to put it on your art, and you can truly go out and say, "Hey, I've always wanted this wall in the city to be." It'd be cool if it had this kind of light projection on it, or it would be cool if it had this kind of public art, because it captures, let's just say, the wall is in Chinatown, and you want to capture the fact that it's the year of the dragon in a really fun way, and you can put that up on the wall to celebrate your community. And so we definitely want to encourage you to pursue those opportunities that are at your create-a-thon as well. Not just, if you're saying, hey, I don't not ready to jump in with my team yet, what else can I be doing? Some of our create-a-thons work with empty windows that are on vacant storefronts, and they need artwork put on the window to help to make the space feel safe, etc. So whatever those challenges are, I would approach your create-a-thon organizers and say, hey, how else can I use my artistic skills with what else we've got going on here today and this weekend?
And so what if I'm not an illustrator? Like, because we talk a lot about how you want to have the components of some sort of audio, some sort of text or script, and some sort of like visual. If you're not an illustrator, that's not your kind of calling. Like, what can you do for visual? Can I just take a photograph of the location? Like, suggestions.
Excuse me. Yeah. No, we would highly recommend that you don't just go take a photograph of the thing that people will be standing there looking at. I mean, in one sense, I guess it makes sense to be like, yo, this is congratulations, you're standing where you're supposed to be. But art is supposed to do more than that. Art is supposed to inspire, art is supposed to create opportunities of wonder. And so I would encourage you to utilize myriad of tools that are at our disposal these days to create something to augment that space. You can using, what would it look like to look at the world through rose-colored lenses, right? Can you take filters? Can you create an opportunity for people to see that space differently rather than just taking a photo with your iPhone or your mobile device and just posting it on, you know, on the platform? Because at the end of the day, that's what a lot of people I mean, you want to make an impact, and taking a photo of a wall and then having someone stand in front of that wall isn't as impactful as finding different pieces of art and mosaicing them together over the wall of and potential what that could look like. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like you could probably like go and pick like a feature of a mural and like zoom in on that feature, and that would
Zoom in on the
be
feature, like at one of our other workshops, we have a little photo of a tiny door, right? And the doors are like super itty bitty. And you can use it to help draw attention to that kind of street art that's already there. But yeah, don't just take a normal photo and walk along, and you take a photo and walk away. Go in and help make that space interactive somehow with the art that you're designing. And I highly recommend listening to our interactivity um, course on that one.
beautiful. Thank you,
Mhm.
Tim.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
No, that's it.
Okay, awesome, guys. Get out there and make the world a more beautiful place. Cheers.